Welcome! We're diving into the world of leading platforms revolutionizing how organizations collaborate and connect. In this video, a solution architect will walk you through Zoom PC and mobile. So let's get started.
Alright, well let's take a look at Zoom Phone. So right now on my desktop I've got the application running and we'll do a little bit of a tour of the application, the user settings portal, and then what it looks like on us, a mobile device, right? So right from, I've launched Zoom at the home section. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit larger so folks can see. But as you can see here, I've got a couple of different sections and I'm really going to focus on the telephony aspect here today. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. And so what you're going to see here are really two sections for Zoom Phone. You're going to have your kind of left section here, and that's going to provide kind of your call history. So as you can see here, I've been doing a bunch of calls to myself and testing out some other numbers. But within the history, I have the ability to filter out a little bit more so I can see any all calls, any missed calls, any summary reports, any recordings, and I can see any lines. So I'll look at missed calls as you can see here. I don't know if I have some summary here, but you will see any summaries, any kind of recordings that I have, and any lines that I have. Over to the right section, I have a voice mode that I haven't listened to. It's been there for a while. And as a user, I can see the caller ID, the date and time, the encryption type, transcription of the call with a task. So it'll listen to call, transcribe it, and it will provide a task based off of AI reading it and saying, hey, maybe you need to call somebody in this situation. It's like I've got to call and discuss SMS with the customer, and I can close that out, review that task. I can escalate and call that user back. I can play the audio file, and then I can also share the voicemail. Obviously, I can copy that number, create a contact if I don't have that user in the system. And it can be a personal contact within the Zoom directory or in my Outlook contact, mark it as read, mark it as a follow-up. Block that number or download that number or delete it. Pretty straightforward. In the middle portion, we're going to see the standard file path for Zoom Phone. And this is tied to Active Directory and Outlook. So as a user, I can type the name of the user within my organization. Let's just use Cade, for example. And Cade has multiple phone numbers, and so I can call him by just clicking on his name, or I can go over to the right-hand side, and I can have additional options. So I've got his extension and his direct number, but I believe I also have him as a personal contact, so this is the personal contact. And the difference is going to be the personal contact is not going to have a status bubble, where if you see him here, over here on KD, he's going to have a little bubble, and if they're logged in, I'll be able to see their status. So this is my Zoom contact. This is my personal top contact with him now. Look, I've got additional options here to call him. And then below here is the caller ID. I've got it defaulted to my direct number. If you're a member of a queue or an auto attendant receptionist, you can change that. We'll have another drop down. Or I can choose to block my caller ID not making an outbound call. But that is the dial pad, pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and just show my cell phone to see what it looks like on a mobile device. So let me go ahead and bring that over. You're going to minimize that and bring my cell phone over here. Right, as you can see here, I've got multiple apps, but the one I'm going to focus on today is the Zoom app. It's here on my bottom left-hand corner. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that application here, and you've got all that feature functionality that you would have with Zooms or meetings and chat, right? Just on a smaller screen. So what you're seeing here on the screen here is up here on the history. You can go ahead and tap on that on my phone. You're going to have access to all the information that I showed earlier, right? Just again, in a smaller phone, I've got my call history. I can click on the all history and do the filtering again, and having all those options, missed calls, summary calls, recorded calls, or lines, I can click on voicemail and have access to my voicemail. I can select the voicemail, and now it's going to be playing. Let me just pause that, but I can delete the voicemail. I've got the information that I need, the date and time, the task below, and the transcription just below that. If I needed to call that user, I can just reply or forward. And then again, I've got the other options to share, delete the number, mark it as unread, same feature set, just a smaller screen. So again, when somebody calls me, and then it's going to ring out my Zoom app, my Zoom mobile app, and also on any Zoom devices. So that would be like a Poly or Yealink running Zoom appliance software, or the SEP supported phone. And then just over here on the right-hand side, I also have access to all my contacts, right? So I can star or favorite some users. These are my current Outlook contacts, and I can search up here by name. So I can just again pull up Cade, and I've got his information here, so I can just click to call. and that is the Zoom app. It's available on iOS or Android. And again, you can put that on, I believe, up to 5 to 8 devices. So again, you can have Zoom ringing on your PC, your Mac, and several tablets, right? So can't get away from work. So the next thing I want to show is I'm going to go back to the Zoom Phone app on my desktop, and I'm going to show you a couple of cool features on how you can customize the application. So let me go ahead and take my phone out of the way. And just going back to my Zoom Phone, as a user, I can go ahead and click on my profile picture and go down to settings. And that's going to open up another window. And I'm going to go right into the phone section. And it's going to show me my telephone number if you don't know or you need to. You just recently got a phone number and don't know what that is. Just by going into the settings, you can see your phone number, what extension you have, what region. You can also hide incoming calls if you are in a Zoom meeting, almost like a do not disturb. You can have this just by default, so you don't have to be remembering to put yourself on Do Not Disturb. You can manage the call control if you have a physical Teams device. So basically, instead of maybe you want to pick up the call from your physical phone, you can manage that here. I won't be showing that today. And then below that, that is your 911. So right now, it's defaulting to our corporate headquarters. But if I wanted to make that change, I can go ahead and click on this personal information. And both of these links right now will take us to your Zoom profile URL, and I'll go ahead and show where that is. But I just wanted to go down a little bit further before we go there. You can turn on live transcriptioning for any calls, break for folks that are hearing impaired or they might have an accent that they may not quite rest, and then really changing your default voicemail language. So right now I've got it set to English. So from here, let's say I wanted to set up or change my emergency address or maybe some call routing options. I'm going to go ahead and just click on my account online. It's going to pull up the Zoom portal for your profile. I'm going to go ahead and move this, and it may default to your profile section. Where I'm going to go is I'm going to click on phone. So let's let this boot up. And I'm just going to quickly go over to the history. And this is basically going to be any CDRs that you may want to report on. I can just pull up any calls that you've had, maybe the month of May, and I can see and sort by name, number, or extension. I can export this to a CSV file, but I also have the ability to search for voicemails within the system. Right now, I don't have any for June, but I do believe I had one in May, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick from the end of beginning of May to June. And as you can see here, I've got that voicemail. I can select it, I can mark it as unread, mark it as done, block it, delete it. I can play that. And then again, you've got those options here on this side as well. If you have any recordings, they would show up here and you would be able to sort by and search for those recordings by name, extension number, and date. I don't have any today here to show. And then over here on the next section is the settings tab. And again, it's going to show you the same thing that you saw on the app, the package that you have. If you don't know what package you have, the phone number, your extension. But this is where I'm going to be able to manage that E911 address. Within the app itself that I'm pulling over here, it shows you what you have. But if you were to click on this link, it's just going to take you right to where we are right now. And again, I can choose. If I'm not at this location, I can choose or create a personal address and then switch between them. Now, again, the phone or the call, if you happen to call 911, it's still going to go to the local PSAP. It's just not going to provide the right information in case you were to pass out or something to that effect. This is where you want to make sure that you have your home address or location that you're at selected. So that way, in case you're incapacitated, you're going to have the local emergency services come to that location. Let me pop out of the settings section. Again, you're going to have the option to change your caller ID here. So you're going to see a lot of the features that you have on the mobile are going to be on this tab. Actually, you're going to have more features on the website URL that you would have on the mobile app. So you can see the region I'm at. Just below that, I've got the call handling. So think of this as your personal operating hours, right? These are your business hours. So maybe I don't want to be 24/7. I can go ahead and make a change here. I've already had that changed, but again, you can be 24/7. I can set up some custom hours, and I can again select the date and time that I want. And if I wanted to make this uniformly, right? So let's just say I want to make this change for Monday. I'm going to start supporting folks more on the East Coast. I can select a specific time and then apply this to every day. That's automatically going to push this out to the other days. Click OK. That's going to make those changes. So in this section here for call handling, it's going to control how those calls are going to come into you. And so right now I've got a simultaneous, it's going to hit my Zoom desktop app on my PC or Mac. It's going to then ring my Zoom physical appliance. That will be a physical team support phone. And then it's going to ring my mobile app on my cellular or mobile device. I can change that to sequential, find me, follow me, and I can then edit that, and I can say which application I want. So maybe I want my mobile to be the first one to be on that list. So it'll call my mobile first, then my desktop, and then my physical phone. Below that are your typical call busy, call no answer features. So you can see here I've got calls forward into my voicemail. If I don't answer, I can change that to maybe play a message to disconnect, play a busy signal, which I don't think most people would want that, or I can even forward to another extension, an external phone number or an external contact. Same thing goes for a call not answered. So maybe you're busy or you don't want to answer the call. Again, where does it go? You can play a message, you can disconnect, forward it to an extension, an external contact, or an external number. And the last section I'll go over here is really the closed hours or after hours, right? Again, how I want to handle that, those calls, I can edit that, where it's going to ring. Again, this is where it's going to, how that ring is going to happen. And then after hours, do I have it wait? Do I play message? Do I set it to a voicemail? Kind of the same options that I have during business hours. And then lastly, I'll hit up on holiday hours. This is where you can set up your holiday hours. I've got some vacation coming up next week and I've just kind of named it, set up the date and time for the date. And it's going to start off at 12 o'clock midnight and end at 12 o'clock midnight the next day or the week that Friday. I can hit save again right now. I don't have any devices because I don't want to be called on vacation. But if I wanted to, I can say, hey, let's add a cell phone number here. If you didn't want it running on an app, maybe you don't have good data connection, you can always put your cell phone number here and use cellular connection. And then below this is just your greeting, right? I can set up a greeting in a couple of ways to do that. I can choose an asset, basically a pre-recorded call, or I can add audio and download that. And I also have the ability to use text-to-speech. So I can give it a name, a category, a language. And if I don't have time to create a call, I can put the text-to-speech and add that information in. And that's a high-level view of the Zoom application and Zoom phone
on a PC or mobile
on
device.
how it runs on a
We
PC,
hope you found this video helpful.
mobile device.
We hope you found this video helpful and educational, and that it gave you the tools to elevate your communication strategy.